Micromobility gets more accessible than ever, and the Italian brand Noko proposed the ultimate balance between urban, lightweight yet powerful e-bike and setup which is good for a fun mountain escape. Is the NOKOBLAZE the right one? Let's inspect. Hey everybody, great to meet you. I'm the Tech Mishka. Here on the channel we inspect a lot of cool and interesting tech, and this happens to be the second e-bike that I try from the Italian brand Noko. It's called the NOKOBLAZE, and given the geometry and the setup, it promises to be a very universal bike. So this video is going to be about a thorough inspection of its qualities, from the very basic steps such as initial impressions, unboxing, setup, down to all these various components and feedback about their long-term performance. And if you stay until the end of the video, I guess we're gonna figure out everything important about the NOKOBLAZE. So enjoy! NOKOBLAZE is quite a universal e-bike, packs a lot of urban style with some EMTB elements, very capable motor setup at least on theory, and clearly lacks the typical road e-bike slimness and sleek design. Therefore, I'd say this is the perfect match for city commuting and lightweight mountain biking, but you may find it comfortable for long road rides as well, although Noko can offer you a lot more suitable and lighter models for the latter use case. In order to try out the true qualities of NOKOBLAZE, I've been mixing different types of environments, used it in the city as a main transportation solution, went with a bike in the mountain and had quite a fun returning back home, and of course have thought about certain upgrades in order to improve its overall handling performance. Before diving deeper with the details, I'd like to ask you to pay attention to the acceleration tests and the various use cases you may recognize in the next few minutes. Naturally, when it comes to electric bikes, people are obsessed with two components: the motor, which is here mid-drive, and the battery. I'm going to cover the battery first, being the more predictable component. That's, by the way, a pretty nice and handy rack. So in here the battery is integrated. Noko promised that it's made out of Samsung cells, and I feel that this kind of installation becomes more like a trend. More and more e-bikes adopt a design which is keeping the batteries somehow integrated in the tube, which makes the bike look very nice, and when you look at it from a further distance, it barely looks like an electric bike. Of course, when you look at the details, you can immediately figure this out. The battery has pretty remarkable capacity, 670 watt-hours, which is thanks to the more than 18.5 amp-hours working at 36 volts, and promises quite decent range. Noko say it's going to last for 100 kilometers approximately. I feel that if you do some more pedaling while you're riding, it can easily get you to more than 120, maybe 130 kilometers. Probably the worst case scenario, if you go uphill, like in such kind of a bad terrain, it's going to support you for at least a couple of hours. The other good news is that Noko thought about safety, meaning that there's a lock mechanism. Inside the battery there's an integrated status display and also a power button which can also act as some sort of a safety switch. The motor is the next component to try out. Actions say more than words sometimes. Keep in mind that this bike plays it fair about the rules and doesn't have a throttle, so I have to do some pedaling while accelerating, and I'm applying the least possible force. To get to 25 km per hour, it takes only a few seconds at grade 5, and here, maybe, I feel that the torque sensor could have been a bit more sensitive, because especially in the first few meters, it feels almost like ghost pedaling. Since this is a mid-drive, be careful with shifting the gears. You don't want to do it while you're heavily pedaling in modes 4 or 5, because it applies excessive force to the chain and it may get a damage. I'd always keep a tool and a spare connector in the backpack if I were you. The motor acceleration is very pleasing. Assistant levels are covering everyone's needs. You can keep it at mode 0, which is going to let you ride NOKOBLAZE as a conventional bike. The motor has 250 watts rated power, goes up to about 750 in peak moments, but we know that the more important value is the torque, which can go as high as 90, maybe sometimes 95 Newton meters, more powerful than many other famous brands, and it is important to say that in most cases it delivers excellent performance. I clearly prefer the NOKOBLAZE kind of performance as compared to the hyped up hub motors with crazy great specs but often delivering comparable torque. Concerning the handling and the controls, they are on the good side. Wide handlebar, integrated display so that you don't get distracted by clunky mechanisms, and the lack of too many cables. That's so refreshing. It's a signature for Noko's design to keep their bike models with the least possible clutter and letting you focus on what really matters, enjoying the rides. The handlebar has no height adjustment, so you really need to make sure that the geometry is good fit for you, and perhaps the biggest disadvantage as I see it, you're locked with the stock handlebar. Apparently, it's the needed sacrifice in order to reduce the cables around. It means that you can't replace the stem, and it's good to mention that in order to tighten the handlebar, there are 2 little hidden hex screws. I'd certainly say good words about the front fork. We have to, of course, be realistic. It is a stock fork for a rather budget-oriented e-bike, and yes, there is control for the rebound, you can easily service it as well, but it's nowhere near the comfort provided by RockShox's Pike series, let's say. There's good news to that. Upgraded front suspension is well possible, and there are quite many suitable models, but I'd seriously recommend you to try the stock one first, because going to something more advanced only makes sense if you ride on trails mostly. Responsiveness of this one is really good, the travel distance is up to 100 mm, however, no option for installing a remote. Still, if you are about to hit the mountains, or in case the area where you live is hilly, NOKOBLAZE has you well covered. Shimano Dior and this 10-speed cassette are responsible for the gear shifting. I'd say this is the biggest differentiator to the majorities of other e-bikes these days. Most brands prefer to save some money from these 2 components, and Dior means that you have a good mid-range chain drive system, which is reliable, accurate, and not noisy. Plus, a KCM chain, and given the added torque from the motor, you really need this quality chain. If you care about the safety features, and you should, in the past couple of years, I've seen a variety of poor braking setups, from Fido M1's electric scooter-grade pads, through mechanical disc brakes which squeak all the time, through acceptable models from Zoom and such. Noko don't disappoint with their choice for brakes. 180mm discs with 2-piston calipers is a standard combination, perhaps even too much for the city, but remember, NOKOBLAZE is a model that is supposed to make you feel confident in the mountain, where some other enduro and cross-country models are equipped with a superior 4-piston-based calipers. That's an upgrade idea. The use of metal pads were also a bit of a surprise to me, but thus far they stay rather quiet. To the good braking experience, a fair amount of contribution comes from the tires. Yes, it's a 29-inch wheeler with Kenda hybrid tires, both off- and on-road friendly, quite durable and rather lightweight at the same time, an excellent balance for this bike in my opinion. The marks on the tires suggest that you should inflate to more than 2.8 bars, and I'd follow these instructions in order to be on the safe side. The e-bike is equipped with fenders as well. If you keep the front one, this is going to make it incompatible with the so-called zero-frame contact racks. Surprisingly, the famous and very affordable Thule free ride models can hold the bike if you don't lock the levers, which I guess is somewhat unsupported, but works. After all, using these roof racks may also feel somewhat uncomfortable. The whole bike is sort of heavy. Despite the fact it is aluminium made, the frame has a few areas which are extra strong, and it is among the reasons why the total weight of the bike exceeds 25 kilograms. You may slimline the configuration a bit, though. Removing the rear rack and the fenders might gain you about a kilo or 2. Want to see the display? Yeah, looks great, but there's not that much that you can do. You can see the real time speed, there's odometer, the 5 assisting levels, not bad. My initial thought after seeing the display for the first time was that the digits won't be visible if there's too much of sunshine, but I'm happy that I'm wrong. If it gets too dark, press and hold the up button and you're gonna trigger the front and rear lights. There's burst mode as well. The lights are inbuilt, discreet and quite powerful. Now, before the wrap-up, I usually put together a list with the drawbacks. Here, I'd note down the fact that you're locked into using the stock handlebar. There unfortunately is no smartphone app, according to Noko I should say yet. There's no telescopic seat post option in the configuration page. And I should remind you that by the time I work on this video, the bike is only orderable from within the European region. Well, in the end, I feel that whatever Noko promised that this electric bike is capable of, they pretty much deliver. Really interesting components and a very universal combination, allowing you to really enjoy your urban riding, but at the same time, it's not going to disappoint if you hit some trails in the mountain and enjoy some downhill adventures. But you gotta be careful with the latter one, because this is not a fully equipped mountain electric bike. So I guess at this price point, given the components and the overall stack, that's a fairly good deal, because at the moment here in Europe, I believe the closest rivals are from Decathlon, being the E-Explorer series, and maybe also the Engwes P275 EST, both of which have similar price tag of around €2,000, but do not have the same high grade of components that the NOKOBLAZE here is equipped with. Plus, Noko is a company which is specialized in electric bikes only, therefore most likely they would provide significantly better and more capable support. And I guess you would enjoy a lot more riding this buddy over here. Agree or not? Do you have a better suggestion for a more universal e-bike at the moment? Let me know in the comment section below the video. In case you have any questions or you want to add something to this video, feel free to step in. And in case you want to get more cool tech inspections, subscribe to the channel. I'm the Tech Mishka. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Ride safely, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.